Hello, hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to Soul Good. Thank you so much for joining me. It's a blessing and pleasure to be here with you. Before we dive in, I just want to encourage you to use your discernment. Take only what resonates with you and leave the rest. Please do not make it your story if it isn't. This absolutely will not be a message for everyone. And so I really just want to encourage you to make sure that you're not taking on something that isn't meant for you. I also want to preface by saying that the way that this message has come in for me is a bit like puzzle pieces, which I've had to put together. And so I'm going to do my best to try to make this as easy to follow as possible. But I wanted to give you that foundation so you can have a bit of understanding of how these things have come in for me. Now, before I go any further, I want to say that this video is likely to be for you if you are someone who has felt as though you have been in a season of preparation. You may have felt as though you have been a bit set apart from, isolated, separated. Okay, you may have lost a lot in your life, especially over the past 12-ish months or so. That's not to say that you haven't been on a healing journey or that you aren't someone who hasn't been actively working to face your shadow or do shadow work or to alchemize or these sorts of things, okay? But it is something that is going to resonate more deeply with those who have felt as though over the past 12-ish months or so, things have really challenged you, like significantly. I'm talking like someone took the dial and turned it up to max without any forewarning whatsoever, okay? That is how you're going to know if there's likely to be something in this video for you. It will feel like a season of preparation. It will feel like you have no idea what the heck is going on. You don't know where the heck you're going. All you know is you're here and you're doing it and you're doing the best you can. That is really what this is probably felt like, okay? You also are likely to be someone who has some stronger spiritual roots. That's not to say that you have to have this incredibly deep connection, but I do feel that many who will resonate with this are going to be those who have a strong foundation in faith, at the very least. Maybe you don't even know exactly what it is you believe in, okay? Perfectly fine. I just want to give as much information as possible in order to really give you some confirmation that there may be something here for you. So I saw this video in my YouTube recommended feed back in November, and on the cover photo, it said, Daniel overcomes the flesh in captivity. As soon as I saw that, I got a message asking, are you in your Daniel season? Okay, and I just have to tell you, I'm not someone who is incredibly well-versed in the Bible. I just want to make that very clear from the get-go. And so I, of course, jumped online and searched for Daniel season specifically. Nothing came up specific to that phrase, but what did come up was from BibleHub.com, and it said Daniel 2:21. So I jumped into my Bible and it reads, he changes times and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. Upon reading that, I felt called to look to see what times in scripture means when they say that, what do they mean by that? Because that can mean a lot of different things, right? And according to what I found, times in scripture means eras or ages. Okay, so he changes eras, he changes ages and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. The reason why this is important is because anyone who has any connection to their spirit, to their soul, anyone who can pick up on shifts in energy can tell you that things are changing, that even if they don't know exactly what it is, which I feel like at least during the time of this recording, it's quite clear that things are changing. You can see things happening in the physical world, but there is this deeper feeling, okay? There's something much deeper going on here than just what we're seeing with our physical eyes. And this has been unfolding for some time. I mean, really, probably over the past 5-ish years. That's not to say that this hasn't been unfolding for all of time, because it has. But, it's more noticeable, I feel, for many, because a lot of people started waking up, if you will, over the past 5-ish years or so. But now there is this deep feeling within our being that something is happening. The age that we are moving into is one where there's going to be, and I've been speaking on this for years now, there's going to be a split. You can already see it, but it's only going to get more and more obvious, more and more definitive as we continue moving forward. There is a split within the collective. There are those who are seeking truth, who are willing to adapt as truth evolves, those who are ready for that, those who want it, those who in a lot of ways actually feel this thirst for it, this need for it. Those who are looking to be free from lies, free from captivity. Those who recognize that they are souls. Those that recognize that they are more than just a physical being, and that they have this sovereignty bestowed upon them by God. On the other side of this, there are those who are really struggling and will continue to struggle as things change. Because regardless of whether you want to see change for what it is or not, things are going to change. It doesn't matter. And we have those on the other side of this that are more rigid in their thinking. They are really kind of white knuckling how things have been and do not want to let go of that way of being, that way of living, even if that means living a lie, even if that means, completely separating oneself from the evolutionary path of the collective. So, on one side, you have these individuals who are developing their I, their capital I, their individuality, who are recognizing themselves as sovereign beings seeking truth, who want to be free from the lie. And then you have on the other side these individuals who are more in a groupthink way of being, who want to remain, who are really white knuckling that way of being, and will go so far as to live a lie in order to maintain that. I hope that makes sense. And so what seems to be going on here is that God has been putting many of these individuals who are aware of their individuality, who are aware of their sovereignty to some degree or another, or maybe who are more open and willing, who have developed their I a bit more. God is putting them through this season of preparation. What is the lie? Well, the lie is that you're just a physical being. You're nothing more than that. And there's nothing beyond that. There is this attachment to the material world that's all there is. I mean, that's the biggest lie, right? Well, or one of the biggest lies. And so during this time of preparation, it is as though God, Christ, the angels, whatever you want to refer to them as, those are the terms that I use, so I'm going to use them, but feel free to insert word here. It is during this time of preparation that God has been giving wisdom to the wise, knowledge to those who have understanding, giving them the ability to see what's what. How do you do that? Well, you separate those individuals from all of the hustle and bustle, the noise of everything else, and you start to break apart all of these things that keep you anchored in this old way of being. So what I mean by that is, Daniel overcomes the flesh in captivity. Well, what is the flesh? The flesh is the material world. It's your desires. It is the things you are attached to: money, relationships, ways of living, items, right? It can really be just about anything in the physical world. And so you could be someone who has lost a lot of things over the past year. That's not to say maybe you hadn't lost things prior to this point as well. But over the past year, like I said, it could be as though someone really cranked the knob up and you're like, whoa, I'm on the verge of having nothing. And the reason I'm really emphasizing this is because that has been intentional. It has been to bring you closer to God. It has been to free you, to liberate you from the ties that bind you to this physical plane. And God needs individuals who are able to recognize what's what. God needs these individuals to spread the word. So prior to these messages coming through, I had been reading Luke. And after, looking through Daniel and reading those messages and doing some research and things, I went to turn back to where I had been previously while reading Luke. And I was shown Luke 4:18, which says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovering the sight of the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed. So the whole point of this has been for you to dive into your own captivity. Okay? To dive into your own attachments and to potentially be stripped of them so that you become, we'll say, rich in spirit. And then for you to emerge with what you've learned through that experience, what you've learned in growing closer to God, and then to go out and help others do the same, to work on behalf of God in sharing, this is how you free yourself. This is how you find peace. This is how you become sovereign again, is by freeing yourself from the ties that bind, which are the things of this physical world. Maybe this sounds a bit insensitive, but to be quite frank, and I'm saying this as someone who has, of course, people that I hold near and dear to me, even your relationships have power over you. And the whole point is for you to not have anything outside of yourself that has power over you, including people. But to put God first, to do the work of God, to align with God's will. That's the point. And there's even scripture on this, and forgive me, I don't know exactly what that is. So again, the whole point is to position you where you can see truth from lie, where you can see freedom from captivity clearly. The whole point is for you to learn this and then to go tell others, hey, you can do this too. Whether they choose to do that or not is their choice. They have free will. But it is sharing, as it says here, the good news. Now, as I sat with this, I heard the song Change is Coming by an artist called 𝑏𝒂𝒃. I will link that song below, and any other song I'm going to mention in the notes under soundtrack. But I heard change is coming, because it is. We're going to see more and more clearly those who have that knowledge, that wisdom, those that have that ability to understand are going to see very clearly who's batting for what team, who is entrenched in the lie, and who is seeking truth. It's going to show who is in this love triangle, if you want to call it that, with the Lord. Okay? Because it's as though, and this is true, by the way, because there is a spiritual battle. It is over our souls. And on one side, you have Christ, you have God, you have the angels, and on the other side, you have the world. You have, if you will, not as in the being that is earth, but rather the allure, the deception that is the physical world, as it is the only thing. Okay? So on one side, you have God and Christ and the angels. On the other side, you have the earth and all of its pleasures and distractions and the forces that would love nothing more than for you to just plant your feet and stay there, as though you have no other option, as though that's all there is. And here we are in the middle. Here we are. And we are coming to this precipice where we have to choose. also heard sweet victory, and it came through like a song as well. And I got this message of the Lord getting ready to claim victory. I feel as though this victory is going to be more evident in those that have been working to free themselves, those that have been working to overcome that flesh, those that have been, to the best of their ability, been trying to align with God, to surrender to God, to let God lead the way, to be obedient. That is where I feel like we're going to be seeing this victory being claimed by the Lord. Those giving their testimonies, saying, I lost pretty much everything, or I had nothing, or I was, down to my last dollar, or whatever the story is. And all of a sudden, God did this thing in my life. I was being obedient. I was listening to God. I had no idea what was going on, but I was trusting God. I had faith. And all of a sudden, here comes the Lord to claim victory. And now I have this story to tell. When I searched Sweet Victory on YouTube, because again, I heard it in the form of a song, or it came through like a song, there is a song called Sweet Victory by an artist called 𝑃. And so I just feel like it's far too coincidental to ignore. You could have also been seeing the number 12. Daniel has 12 chapters, and that really stood out to me. So that could be just further confirmation for some of you. You could have been seeing 12:12 or just the number 12 repeatedly. Something I really want to clarify here is when I'm talking or speaking on, these worldly and fleshly things that we consume or that we're attached to, this is also speaking of worldly or fleshly beliefs and stories, things that we've taken on through our trauma wounding programming, right? So when I say this may have been a very, very challenging season, I'm not joking. Because it feels as though there's been this, we'll say, I don't know what you want to call it, this fast track or advanced path of being positioned to face the challenge of overcoming the flesh, to feeling as though you are down to nothing and still not giving in to the distractions of the world, the means of escape through those worldly things. I really hope this is making sense. A good example of this would probably be, let's say, maybe you're down to your last dollar and God is like, trust me, do not go out and do whatever to get money. Trust me, just trust me. And you saying, okay, even though there may be parts of you that are like, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent. I don't know how I'm going to keep my lights on, etc., etc., etc. Now, I want to be very clear again. It is imperative that you use your discernment and you make choices and decisions that are best for you and your life. I am not in any way, shape, or form encouraging someone to make decisions that could be harmful for them. Okay? I want to make that very clear. And if you're listening, you take full responsibility for the choices that you make in your life, period. But this very much feels to me as though if you're listening to this and it's resonating with you, you may have found yourself in those situations where you are, and this may have happened actually over the past year or so, where you have been challenged to overcome the flesh while in captivity, right? So again, it's like feeling like you're losing everything, not having support, not having somewhere to turn, not having what you feel you need or what you've been taught you need, and being essentially in this corner, but God showing up for you. This could have happened repeatedly through this period of time where, again, you've been challenged to overcome the flesh. You could have been down to your last dollar, and then boom, all of a sudden something happens and now you've got money. You could have not known what you were going to do, and boom, someone shows up in your life that opens a door for you. The other part of this as well is to, again, kind of be obedient and to resist the temptation to escape from the change. So this would look a lot like, especially when we're talking about the worldly or fleshly beliefs and stories, this would look a lot like coming face to face with, trauma and wounding that is painful, where you are being asked to allow yourself to feel what you perhaps haven't had the opportunity to feel before, because you were not in a position to do that, which is another reason why I feel like those who have been experiencing this would have been feeling as though they're in a season of isolation, or they're feeling separate from, or they feel like they have no support. And the whole point of it is for you to have to lean into yourself and to give yourself permission to feel the things, to work through the things, to heal the things, right? It's not leaning on other people for that support. It's not leaning on other people to give you permission to feel the things and to validate how you feel about it. It is you validating yourself. It is you showing up for yourself. It is you supporting yourself and leaning into God, leaning into Christ, leaning into the angels, that being your support system. Okay. And again, this has all been for preparation. When you consider Daniel, okay, Daniel is part of the king's seed. He is royalty. The reason I bring that up is because it is going through this and overcoming the flesh and maybe finding yourself left with nothing doesn't mean you are nothing. It doesn't mean you're nothing. As a matter of fact, it means you're far more valuable than what you may have ever even allowed yourself to imagine. Okay? Now, on the other side of this, and remember, you could have experienced one or the other, or a combination of the two. So, on the other side of this is Job. And according to the work of Rudolf Steiner, this comes from GA 92, a lecture given on the 13th of September, 1918. And he's speaking of Job. It's so wild to me, okay? Because Job overcomes evil, okay? An harmonic being, according to the work of Steiner, in trials and tribulation. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Job overcomes evil, which is actually an harmonic being, according to the work of Rudolf Steiner, in trials and tribulation. And he says here, so one can say that Moses's view is misfortune and death are the consequence of sin. The radically opposite view is that of the book of Job. First of all, you do not have a snake, but a purely spiritual being, an harmonic being, which comes close to the divine being itself. And in the case of Job, it is not about a human being like Adam who can fall prey to sin, but rather about someone who is supposed to be righteous. And how does this being who approaches God want to make Job fall into sin? By bringing misfortune upon him. It is exactly the opposite. This being wants to bring misfortune upon Job so that he will sin. Misfortune is already there, and from misfortune comes sin. In the book of Moses, evil is said to come from sin, while in the book of Job, sin comes from evil. This was shown to me, and I was given a very similar message. Are you in your Job season? So you could be someone who has been experiencing all of what feels like this misfortune. You could have felt as though you've been under attack, experiencing spiritual warfare, feeling as though you're just being pelted. Like, the way that I see it is almost, and this is maybe going to sound kind of funny, but I don't mean it to be funny. But the way I kind of see it is like being pelted in the face over and over and over again by like snowballs or waves or something, right? Where you're just being hit repeatedly, blow after blow, feeling like you're not getting anywhere, feeling like you're struggling to keep your head above water, right? And you're just experiencing all of this misfortune over and over and over again and trying to figure out what is going on. And you could be someone that has been in your Job season, where the forces that oppose God are tempting you to sin, are tempting you to go against God, to go against truth, to go against love, to act out, right? Do you get what I'm saying here? I really hope you guys are following me. I know this is a lot, and I know I spent a lot of time on Daniel, and you know, those that may have been going through their Daniel season. I'm not going to spend as much time with the Job season, but it's no less significant. The only reason that I'm not going to spend as much time on the Job season is because it's so crystal clear. And then there are those of you who may have been going through a combination of both. It could have been one after the other, all at the same time, right? Where you just feel like you're really struggling to keep up, where you're really struggling to tell what's what, just really trying to keep things together and leaning heavily on faith. That's why I mentioned that previously. This situation, this period of preparation, which feels wholeheartedly like an initiation to me. P.S. I did get the song Initiate by 𝑖ntimatum. It feels like an initiation, a spiritual initiation. Can you go through all of this? Can you experience this kind of challenge? And can you overcome it? Leaning into God. And again, all of this has been to prepare you for this new age, this new era that we are entering into, where we are going to have to be able to discern. I have said this in so many messages more recently, but we're going to have to be able to discern evil from good, right from wrong, truth from lie. Because without that discernment, you can fall into the traps of this world. You can be led astray. You can believe a lie and live a lie, and you can align with what some would refer to as the Antichrist. And you could not even know that that's what you're doing because you don't have the ability to discern. And the only way that you acquire the ability to discern is through your own development, is through seeing evil in yourself, is through seeing darkness in yourself, seeing the lies within yourself, okay? That's the only way you're going to be able to see it outside of yourself. And so it feels as though God, Christ, the angels have been preparing certain individuals to be able to see these things clearly and to help others to see them as well. There's a lot to wrap one's brain around, especially if this is something that you haven't considered or if you've never been introduced to before. But I wholeheartedly feel that for those that have been experiencing this, it's going to bring a lot of confirmation. You will feel this in your being. This is not just, oh, I think this is me. No, 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 no. You're going to feel it deeply within you. There will be no mistaking it at all for those that this is for. Because this experience has likely had you questioning everything, including life itself. So again, you could have been experiencing one or the other. Okay. A Daniel season, being challenged to overcome the flesh in captivity, or a Job season, being challenged to overcome evil in trials and tribulation. Okay, both choosing to be obedient to God. Or you could have experienced a combination of the two. And you may now be starting to come out of that. You may now feel as though you're starting to emerge from that. Maybe things are feeling a bit lighter now. For others of you, now, how do I say this? Because regardless of what side of this you find yourself falling on, it is very likely that what you've experienced has been meant to be a testimony. This is the story that I have with regard to God. And for some, it's not just about the testimony of God got me through this. But moving forward, you could also experience gaining back what you lost and then some. Because in the story of Job, Job loses everything, essentially, but his life. I mean, he goes through a lot. He loses children. He falls ill. Like, there's so many things that Job experiences. But at the end of it all, Job is given back significantly more than what he had originally. And so coming out of this, not only do you have a story to tell about how God got you through it, but for some of you, there is also this, repayment. This, you're getting back more than what you lost. And what you get back is so interesting, because I'm just hearing now that for some, yes, it is getting back some more of these material things, because you're in a different position now where you're not going to be as attached to them as you would have before, right? So for some, maybe before you had a car and you're like, yeah, this is my whole world, my world revolves around me having a car, and maybe if something happened, you would lose your mind about it. But now, maybe you have a car back and you're like, okay, well, whatever it is, God will provide, whatever I need. So if I lose it, it's whatever. At least I have God. The way that you feel about these things, these worldly things, it's not going to have the same impact on you as it did before. And for others, it's more along the lines of getting back more than you lost, but it's because your values have shifted so significantly that whatever it is that comes back to you is going to have so much more value to you than what you had before. So, it's not necessarily that it's material things, but could be more, let's say, peace of mind, right? Maybe you're at peace within your being and you are now able to move through the world in a different way because you're not carrying the burdens of, let's say, your trauma wounding programming in the way that you did before. So what you gained is this peace. What you gained is this liberation from those things. Does that make sense? So it can be showing up in a lot of different ways, but I feel as though whoever this is for, it's going to give you a lot of confirmation. So it may help to make things make some sense. Let's dive into the cards, because I'm very curious to see where this is going and what other information would like to come through. Father, Mother, Life, Christ, Universe, Spirits, Guides, Angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves, what other messages would like to come through for those who have been experiencing their Daniel or Job seasons? Thank you. Come on. Let's go. Yes, this is amazing. So let's start off here. We have the law of growth. Be steadfast in your faith and stay the course. You cannot make this up. You can't. The law of non-attachment. Let go, release, and allow miracles. Seriously? Like, I could not have written this better. And the law of divinity. Within you is the same source that created the entire universe. What I'm getting coming in here is going to blow your mind, because it really does parrot exactly what I've been sharing. Obviously, law of growth, law of non-attachment, this has been the whole point of this entire period of time that you've been going through. And with the law of divinity, what's fascinating to me, and I've shared this in other videos before, but it's standing out to me like a friggin' neon sign right now, is that you've been going through this period of refinement, right? Where God has been smoothing out the edges. God has been, as I said, preparing you. And it's all been for you to recognize your sovereignty, to lean into God, to not have the things of this world having this sort of control or pull or power over you. So on the side here, closest, on the side where my finger is, you can see that the rock formation there is very rough, okay? And on the other side, the direction in which she's looking, that side is smooth. So it's going from this, rougher way of being, if you will, and being refined during this period. Being, thank you, Holy Spirit, purified, smoothed over, so that God can use you. It has been this period of purification, bringing you to a point where you understand that you are a child of God. You are the microcosm of the macrocosm. Christ lives within you. God, the angels live within you. And the things of this world can distract you from that. The things of this world can pull you from that if you let them. I mean, she's even wearing white. It's purity. And I love here we have the lion, which I just heard Lion of Judah, which of course is Christ. But there is this lion here. You could be a Leo. That could be significant for someone. But the lion here is representing that courage, that strength to do what is necessary to grow, right? The courage to have faith, to be steadfast in faith, the courage to stay the course, the strength to keep going. And then above the lion there is an owl, okay, which is the wisdom to stay the course. It is guiding you, and in some cases through these divine messengers, okay? Winged creatures like eagles, like owls, etc., are often seen as divine messengers. So, there is this wisdom gained through these divine messengers, wisdom gained through having the courage to allow yourself to be led, to be guided, to stay the course, to pursue what you know within your being is what you're supposed to be doing, even if there is no evidence of that externally. The lion has this crescent moon shape in the area of its third eye. You're probably not going to be able to see that, but it's giving me intuition with the moon. Having this knowing, I'm also just hearing high priestess. I know I have this deep inner wisdom. I have this deep knowing that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Again, even if my physical eyes are not showing that to me. And it seems so counterintuitive. You know, we have law of non-attachment here, let go, release, and allow miracles. It seems so counterintuitive, but there is this recognition that surrender is what opens doors. Letting go of things is the key to opening new doors. And it seems counterintuitive, especially in this very physical material world we live in. But it is that letting go of those things that is the key to the miracles, is the key to the testimony, right? Is the key to your divinity, is the key to understanding. It's just, again, you cannot make this up. I could not have written this better. I just heard a long time coming, right? So again, as I stated earlier, this could be something very much so that has been heavily impacting you over the past year or so, but certainly even longer than that. Okay? I'm not saying that God can't just pluck someone out and say, hey, we're doing this, because I'm not here to put limits on God. I do feel like for many of you, though, you're going to resonate with things unfolding for some time beyond just, a year or so. But certainly, really over the past year, you may have been asking, when is this going to end? When are things going to smooth out? When am I going to be able to catch my breath? When am I going to be able to start feeling as though I can live again? Because it really does feel as though many of you watching will resonate with feeling like it's just been hit after hit after hit, and you're just taking it. Keeping faith, right? Tell us more, please. Thank you. Okay. So we start here, the central sun, abundance, downloads, regeneration, success. I've just gotten being stripped of everything and essentially being reborn as something new. That's how this has come through just now. It feels like watching yourself die, and it's so fascinating to me, because it even feels as though some of you may have felt this weird feeling like something was going to happen, because it feels like watching yourself die only to watch yourself be reborn. It's very phoenix rising from the ashes, but it's so hard to explain, you guys. I feel like I'm trying to explain something that I don't really need to, because if you've experienced it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's this feeling of is everything just gonna end? But then feeling as though new life emerges, right? Out of seemingly nowhere. Looking at this card, I'm actually feeling very small. And again, if you've been someone who has been very entrenched in the BS rules of the physical world, and you've, lost nearly everything or feel that way, it's understandable that one would feel small according to societal rules and societal expectations and blah, blah, blah. But, the reality of it is you're far grander than what you perceive yourself to be, or have perceived yourself to be through this process. Because first of all, not everyone is going to be able to do this, period. That's just how it is. It's not arrogance, it's not ego, it just is. But if you look at the scarab there in the middle of the card, there are these gigantic, what appear to be wings that aren't actually physical. Okay, they're even a bit transparent when we look at them. And that's because, there's this feeling of, again, feeling very small, feeling very insignificant, and going through this and maybe feeling like, God's picking on you, like, what is going on? But in reality, there's been this process of refinement. It's helping you to grow into those wings. Does that make sense? It's helping you to really recognize how grand you truly are. According to, a materialist perspective, you may seem like, an insignificant bug, okay? But in the spirit, your value is much grander than what you think, than what you can see. And only those with eyes to see, ears to hear, are going to recognize that about you. Well, it kind of took me a minute to get there. Again, we have these winged creatures. So, first with the owl, now with the scarab and the wings here off to the side. And I just really feel that's driving home this work of divine messengers in your life. Confirmation. Memories of Atlantis, spiritual acceleration, progress, technology. Absolutely. Notice there in the center of the card is the Ankh. That is eternal life. Earlier I said you may have felt as though you were like put on a fast track. That things were just accelerated tremendously, where before you may have felt as though you were growing and evolving and going through facing your shadow and things like this, and then all of a sudden it's like someone cranked the knob all the way up. I do feel like there's been a lot that has happened in a short period of time. And, for some of us, a year doesn't feel like a short period of time. But when you really think about it, when you look back over this experience, if this has been resonating with you, yes, it's been, a long time, but it may have felt as though it's went by like that. There's a sense of God essentially saying, I need you to be in this place. I need you to get to this place. Interesting as well, that we have the law of growth, and now we have this spiritual acceleration, this progress. So being steadfast, staying the course, leaning into God, leaning into faith, I feel like this is part of what has allowed things to unfold as quickly as they have, or as quickly as it will seem when you look back on it. I'm not by any means saying that this means it's been easy, because I don't feel like that's the case at all. But I do feel like when you look back on it, it's going to feel like it happened in a blink. Hathor light codes, light immersion, full system upgrade, power recall. Again, as I was saying, right, it has been about reclaiming sovereignty. It has been about taking back your power, from these things. And even when we lay this down on the table, right, it's going to fall beneath this let go, release, allow miracles, law of not attachment, taking back your power, not being attached to things, because anything that you're attached to has power over you, period, end of story. That goes for anyone. I don't care who you are. And so the whole point has been to bring, first of all, full system upgrade. It's been to bring you to recognize your true power, as we were talking about here with the scarab and the wings, but also to call back any power that you've given away to, these different things that you may have been attached to reclaim your sovereignty, which means you take back your power. There are some of you listening, I feel, who through this period of time may have been working through a different trauma or wounding around the mother line or a mother figure. And that could just be additional confirmation. We have Stargate Heart, heart chakra opening, unlocking generosity. I love that this card has come through. Christ resides in our hearts. Okay. You see those portraits where, Christ has the Sacred Heart, it's on fire. Christ is that purifying fire in our heart. And I do feel that there has been this purification that's been going on, which has allowed you to open up to yourself and life in ways that you weren't able to previously. I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that we have a key here, as I've been speaking on, right? Letting go of things, while it seems counterintuitive, actually is the key to open up doors. And here we have, this unlocking. So we have, come on now. It has been to open up you to aspects of yourself that you were not even aware of previously. And you could even resonate with now having a much deeper reverence for God, for Christ, for the angels, for spirit, whatever you refer to it as. You actually could have, through this period, experienced situations that you would maybe say kept you going, during which you felt incredible love wash over you. Even if you were at your lowest, even if you felt as though you had nothing, even if you had no support, right? No one was there, but you just felt so loved. You felt held. You felt seen. You felt acknowledged, even if you had no one around you. And I do feel that, again, all of this has been unfolding so that you are positioned to lean into God and God's love for you. Lean into Christ, the angels, and their love for you, to be able to feel it within your being, even if you have nothing to show anyone else that that's what's going on, even if there's nothing in your physical world that would allude to, God loving you. Someone on the outside, again, a materialist, a literalist, maybe an atheist or something of that nature, may look and be like, okay, yeah, sure, God loves you. You don't have anything, but you within your being know better because you've felt it. I hope that makes sense. And it's been to, again, to reconnect you with who you truly are at a very deep level. Christ resides in your heart. Christ is within you. And so it's been to open you up to you, to your truth. Okay, to open your heart up to what it truly means to be a human being on this planet. And it's interesting that, it concludes on this card with generosity, because I do feel, again, that a big part of this has been to position you to gain this wisdom, this knowledge, to grow in the way you have, and then to go out and to share that with others. Maybe you are someone who receives some kind of material gain as, a repayment, if you will, or to replace what you've lost. And instead of, hoarding it to yourself, maybe you're someone who, the Lord blesses so much that you can then bless others. How are you able to do this? Well, it's God, right? Okay, so let's just make some room. Tell us more, please. What else would like to come through? Wow, I'm going to put this back because that's a lot of cards, but we do have here the Eight of Swords. I mean, this is, I feel like this is freedom from especially some of the stories that you may have been telling yourself, right? Eight of Swords is this self-imprisonment, essentially. And, I feel like, again, I mean, you really can't make it up. I feel like it's freeing yourself from those stories, from what you've believed to have this power over you. Thank you. Thank you. Just squeeze these in. So we start, Ace of Pentacles. Growth. Interesting with that central sun as well, regeneration, right? There's this tree stump, but you have this new growth taking place. There is this new beginning. And I feel as though whatever's to come next, I just heard opportunity rich. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of doors opening, whatever that looks like for your journey specifically, right? It's not going to look the same for everyone, but I certainly feel as though there is this new beginning where it's like you were cut off at the knees, okay? If we want to use the tree stump here, it's like cutting it off, thinking nothing, like that's done, nothing's going to happen, nothing's going to come from it. And there may have been those around you who have been thinking the same thing, right? Thinking that you're, like a lost cause, it's all over for you, blah, 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 whatever the story. And here you are with these new things unfolding, right? Emerging from the ashes, new opportunities, new growth, a new beginning. Let's go. Whoever you are, get ready. Because I don't feel like this is the end of your story. It's only the beginning. We also have here the Eight of Pentacles in the reverse. Yeah. It's so... What's fascinating about it is you may have felt like all of this work that you've been doing has been for nothing, right? You may have felt as though you've been doing all this work and getting nowhere. It's been a long time that this has been unfolding. But I feel like you've come so much further than what you believe. And it's only because of the materialistic viewpoints, the old ways of seeing things and understanding things, the old belief systems, the old, the old paradigms. I feel like that's why it's felt that way, because these opportunities I don't feel like are going to be showing up in the same way that they would have before. Thank you, Holy Spirit. It's going to appear as though you did nothing to earn these opportunities. Does that make sense? Because the Eight of Pentacles is this, essentially, is this card of effort. It's this card of putting in the work, things taking time to unfold. And with it showing up in the reverse, after following this Ace of Pentacles, it's as though these opportunities, this new beginning, these things that are coming in for you are just, it's almost like you did nothing to earn them, but you know full well you did. It's just that the work that you put in isn't the same work that others are used to seeing. It's the reward, if you will, that you are receiving, the opportunities, the growth, the new beginning, the prosperity that's coming is going to appear as though you did nothing to earn it. But in all reality, you have. It's just no one else has seen that but you and God. Does that make sense? Because you've been mastering your inner world. You haven't been focused on mastering the physical world. I really hope you guys are following me. That is how this is showing up. I just heard, it's going to blow people away. I feel like people are going to be shocked, actually. We also have this Son of Swords, or the Knight of Swords. Yeah, it's not going to make any logical sense. That's how this is coming through. It just feels like the new beginning, the opportunities, it's not going to make any sense to anyone else. I mean, there are those that know, of course, right? There are those that are on the same path that will get it. But I feel like those people are probably few and far in between. And so a vast majority of the people that are around you are going to see this unfold and are going to be so confused. It's like you can't use the logic to figure this out. And I've just got to say, there's this feeling inside of me. It doesn't feel arrogant or haughty or anything like that, but it does feel like I know something you don't know, right? It does feel like you could easily be doing this yourself. It's just you refuse to take this seriously. You refuse to tread that path. And the other thing too is that, the Knight of Swords is quite a fast moving energy. But here it's showing up, in the reverse position. So it's, again, it's like, what? I don't even understand how this happened. Right? How did you go from this to this? That's what this feels like. We also have here the Nine of Swords. And I love that it's showing up in this position because it's like the end of a nightmare. Like all of a sudden things just shifted, right? All of a sudden the nightmare ends. All of a sudden things just start improving. All of a sudden it's as if, out of nowhere, it's a miracle, right? That all of these troubles and worries and this horror story that you may have felt as though you've been living comes to an end and things start moving. You may have experienced a lot of actual nightmares. You may have experienced what feels as though, that spiritual attack, or, feeling as though this is giving me Job. Okay. It's giving me Job. Interestingly, the Eight of Pentacles is giving me that Daniel feeling. Of course, they are all part of the same story. But, here you have this spiritual attack, these nightmares, this, let me keep just coming at you and making everything this horror story so that you want to step outside of what God's called you to do. So you want to, cave, you want to give in, right? And even with the Eight of Pentacles here, it's very similar, because it's like you're doing these things, but you're not seeing the physical manifestation of the effort. You're not seeing that reward. So it's overcoming the flesh, and here it's like overcoming evil. Hello, success. Here's the thing, right? The Chariot, of course, like I said, is success. But it is also, having the will, the discipline to surrender. I'm very drawn to the fact that there's a sun here on the top. There's the crescent moon there in the third eye position again. And then there's the pentagram or the five-pointed star here. The five-pointed star represents the human being. And we have, the sun, which is the life force. We have the moon, right? Your intuition. And it's really giving me this trusting the sun, life force, God, Christ, via your intuition to lead you as a human being, to carry you to where you need to be. Does that make sense? This is what has brought you to, thank you, Holy Spirit, that sweet victory. Recognizing, as it says here, within you is the same source that created the entire universe. And it is allowing, through your will, your confidence, your inner warrior, allowing that to carry you to victory. Wow. Okay, let's see. What other messages would like to come through, please? Thank you. Thank you. So we have to be fair with the scales here. The number 38. There is an owl atop her head as well. On one side of the scales is a fortune cookie with the message nope. On the other side is what appears to be an egg. And the oracle is in the dress of Lady Justice here. I'm getting cause and effect. I'm getting, again, yes, thank you, Holy Spirit. I'm getting, again, the discernment to recognize what is for you and what isn't. What is life-giving? Okay, so we have the egg. And what isn't with the fortune cookie and nope. Right? What is for you? What is not? What is life-giving and what is not? Being able to discern, the owl atop the head, that wisdom. And there may be those around you who, see this as unfair. Because it's going to appear for some of you that because there is this feeling of, from an outsider's point of view, that you did nothing to reap this sort of reward, that you didn't earn whatever success or victory you found yourself in. And they may be, from the outside looking in as though this isn't fair. You didn't do anything to earn that opportunity. You didn't do anything to earn that prosperity, right? But again, you know it's cause and effect. You did the work. And so if those sorts of people start showing up in your reality, it's remind yourself, like, no, it is fair. I'm also hearing justice will be served. And I don't know who that's for. I don't know what that's about. Maybe that's confirmation for someone. Maybe that's for someone very specific. But I'm hearing justice will be served. 38 reduces to 11. So it is, justice card in the tarot. I'm hearing God sees all. So there's a feeling here of not allowing other people's inability to do this same kind of work, not allowing their opinions or whatever it is to sway you or deter you or to create fear within you or guilt or shame or any of those things, because you know what you went through. You know what you had to do in order to emerge out the other side of this. You know that you know better. And again, with the white, there's that pure, that symbolism of purity. You had to go through the fire in order to come out the other side of this. And so there's a message here of anyone else can do this too, but they like you are going to be weighed and measured and have to go through this purifying process, right? TikTok, the number 30. It's been to be fair, TikTok. In other words, it's been a long time coming. To be fair, you've been working on this. It's just you haven't been doing the same kind of work that society expects one to have to do in order to reap this kind of reward, whatever that looks like. I'm not saying it has to be material or financial or any of those sorts of things. It could just be you found peace and all of a sudden you're living your best life, peaceful AF, and people are like, what? How did that even happen? I'm also being very drawn to the fact that the letter T could be significant, right? Maybe your name starts with a T, or you could also have the initials TT, or the letter T could be significant for someone somehow. Take it if it resonates, but it's like, to be fair, you've put the time in. To be fair, you spent your time doing other things that have paid off in different ways than what's expected based on societal beliefs. On this watch, it's pointing to 10. So the number 10 you could have been seeing as well. That could be confirmation for someone. But I feel it's saying, you've put in a lot of time here. Like the way that I'm seeing this is actually giving time, right? That's kind of how I'm seeing it. It's like I'm giving this time and energy to this process, to this purification process, to freeing myself from karma, right? So it's like, how do I say? For some, it's this almost like this unfolding of karma, this alchemizing of karma, giving your time to that purification of karma. You know, maybe even atoning for certain things. Maybe you had to find forgiveness for certain things, ask for forgiveness in certain things. But it is, you know, cause and effect. Like, I've given time to this. I have invested a lot of time into this, and I've watched time go by, and I've had to do it on my own. Right? I hope this is making sense, you guys. Also, I'm getting the ages, you know, 30, 38, or between 30 and 38 could be significant for someone listening, right? You could be between the ages of 30 and 38, or, you know, maybe you're 30 specifically, maybe you're 38 specifically, but that seems to be significant as well. Let's get some final messages. Final messages, please. Thank you. I just heard right on time as well. You know, so the other thing about this is everyone eventually has to go through this process. It's just a matter of where you are in your own evolution, where you are in your own journey, when that will appear, and of course your own free will and how you choose to address that. You know, we have the Chariot here. It's that strong will. So it is, you know, essentially saying, to be fair, first of all, this has been the time, the right time for this to unfold for you. And it has been a choice as well. So really just driving home how others may look at your situation and think it's, you know, somehow like, oh, it's not fair that, you know, this happened for you and blah, blah, blah. But again, you know better. And you also know that every single person can do this for themselves. Yeah, you've had to trust. Thank you. So we start, yeah, beautiful. We start here with purpose. You possess the determination and dedication to consciously demonstrate love. So, you know, all of this is unfolded for a reason, as I spoke of earlier on, right before we even got into the cards. This is all unfolded so that God can use you for his purposes, right? So that you can now go out and help others. So you can be of service to God and to humanity. So there's been a reason for all of this, right? Like, this isn't just happenstance. This isn't just, you know, the luck of the draw. No, this is God, and this is your willingness, your cooperation, your communion with God in arriving at this place. Trust. You have a strong connection to your soul's loving voice and have faith in your intuition. Yes, this is what brought you to this point. It is the trust you've built with yourself and with God, with Christ, with the angels, that has got you here, and it's what's going to continue carrying you as you move forward. And finally, humility. Can't make this up. If you're still here, okay, this has all had purpose. It has not been for nothing. It has been to position you so that you, again, have this story to tell on how you leaned into God. You trusted God. You trusted your intuition. You trusted yourself. You had faith. And it positions you to share your story with others. Understanding that we are all souls, we are all eternal beings having a physical experience. We all have the same overall goal, which is returning to spirit, returning to God. And we're all essentially just trying to help each other get home, if you will. Now, that's a very simplistic way of putting things. But going through all of this has positioned you to understand things at a much deeper level, to recognize God, not just in yourself, but in everyone else. Because every single human being with a soul has Christ within them. There are no exceptions. Not everybody is tapped into, or not everyone has put Christ on the throne of their heart. Not everyone has opened up to that within themselves. But that doesn't change it. That doesn't mean anything with regard to Christ being within us. And so as you move forward, having gone through what you've been through, and if you're listening to this, you're probably someone who has experienced a lot of trauma, a lot of pain, a lot of wounding. This has probably been a lifelong thing. And the portion that you have had to move through over, let's say, the past year or so, has probably really put you through the ringer, having to face a lot of what you didn't have the opportunity to before. A lot of what you weren't able to face before, for whatever reason. And so now, coming out of that, having experienced whatever trauma, pain, wounding, disappointment, whatever it is, and having to face that, you now know what it takes. You know it's not easy, and you've had to do it alone. You've had to kind of pave the way, if you will. Because now God can position you with this purpose to help others to move through that, so they don't have to do it alone. So I hope you are able to recognize the gravity of the work God can now do through you. And I hope that you are not only standing in a space of reverence for God, but are also looking at yourself in a much different light. Because there are incredible, incredible things that God, Christ, the angels can do through you. You're now in a position where God, Christ, and the angels can use you to help others. And so I pray that you see the value in what you've experienced, what you've went through, and where you now find yourself. You have developed the loving awareness that you and everyone else are the same, but on different paths. I pray that you recognize that there's something much greater, something much grander unfolding here, that what you've been through has purpose, that it has not been for nothing, that you trusted yourself and it has not led you astray, that you trusted God and He has not led you astray, and that you are now in a position to truly make a difference in the world because you now know how challenging this truly is, and can support others so that they don't have to experience it the same way that you did. Does that make sense? I hope that you see that within yourself, and I pray that you realize how incredible it is that you've been able to do this, you've been able to move through this, and that, you know, moving forward, God can continue to use you to inspire others, to help others, to bring them closer to who they are, and can help them to potentially take back their own power and reclaim their own sovereignty. I pray this has been helpful or valuable to you in some way, that it's provided some kind of clarity or confirmation for you as you continue moving forward. I want to thank you so much for being here. It's been an absolute joy to be here with you. I'm sending you big hugs and so much love. Thank you for what you've done and what you will do. Take care of your evolving, growing, beautiful, needed soul. Peace be with you and within you, and I hope to see you in another chat. Bye.